She only needed $50 to buy her mother's medicine. In desperation, she accidentally texted a Korean Mafia boss, never knowing who he really was. Later that midnight, he showed up at her door. Emma Washington's hands shook as she scrolled through her contacts at PM, vision blurred by tears she refused to let fall. Her mother's labored breathing filled the small bedroom of their Inglewood apartment, each rattling inhale a reminder that time was running out. The pharmacy had been clear. No money, no insulin. No telling what would happen before morning. She'd already texted everyone. Her cousin Dante, seen. Her ex-boyfriend's mother, who'd always liked her. Sorry, honey, it's rent week. Her co-worker, Brittany, girl. I'm literally overdrawn. $50. That's all she needed. $50 stood between her mother and a potential diabetic coma, and Emma couldn't find it anywhere. Her thumb hovered over a contact she'd saved weeks ago. Mr. Choi, cafe owner. She'd taken his number when he'd left it with the manager for emergencies only regarding the cafe. Emma had never used it, had barely spoken to the man beyond, "Good morning, sir," and "Your usual, sir," during his rare appearances at Hanul Cafe where she'd worked for 8 months. But desperation erased boundaries. Her mother's breathing hitched again, and Emma made a decision she'd probably regret. Her fingers flew across the screen. "Hi, this is Emma from the cafe. I know this is crazy, but I'm in a terrible situation. My mom needs insulin, and I'm $50 short. I'll pay you back Friday with my check, I promise. I'm so sorry to ask, but I don't know who else to turn to." She hit send before she could overthink it, then immediately wanted to die. She'd just begged her boss, well, her boss's boss, for money via text at midnight. The same boss who drove a Bentley and wore watches that cost more than her yearly salary. The same man who was so intimidatingly beautiful and cold that the cafe staff had nicknamed him the Ice King in whispered Korean. Her phone lit up immediately. Emma's heart stopped. Address. Now. 2 words. No question mark. Just a command delivered with the kind of authority that made her fingers move before her brain could question it. She sent her address, then stared at her phone in confusion and growing dread. What did that mean? Was he going to fire her? Send someone to lecture her about professional boundaries? Call the police for harassment? 23 minutes later, at exactly a.m., a black Genesis GV80 pulled up outside her apartment building, with the kind of quiet power that announced money before anyone even stepped out. Emma watched from her 3rd-floor window, stomach churning as a tall figure emerged from the driver's seat. Choi Hoo-young looked like he'd stepped out of a Korean drama. Black turtleneck, perfectly tailored coat, dark hair styled with deliberate casualness that probably took 30 minutes to achieve. Even from 3 floors up, Emma could see the sharp line of his jaw, the way he moved with predatory grace as he scanned the building. He was 32 years old and looked like sin wrapped in cashmere. Her phone buzzed. Which apartment? 3C. But Mr. Choi, you didn't have to come here. If you could just Venmo. 3 sharp knocks cut off her typing. Emma's blood turned to ice. He was already at her door. How had he gotten past the building's entrance? Why was he here in person? And why did she suddenly become hyper-aware that she was wearing old UCLA sweats and a tank top with a hole near the hem? Her natural hair pulled into a messy bun. No makeup. Looking absolutely nothing like the put-together waitress he saw at work. She opened the door and forgot how to breathe. Up close, Choi Hoo-young was devastating. His eyes were dark, sharp, intelligent, the kind that saw everything and revealed nothing. A thin scar cut through his left eyebrow, somehow making him more attractive. And he was tall, well over 6 feet, making Emma feel small despite her own 5'7" frame. "Mr. Choi, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for you to..." "Where is she?" His voice was deep, accent slight but noticeable, and held no warmth, just efficiency. He stepped past Emma into the apartment without waiting for invitation, dark eyes scanning the small space. The worn couch, the kitchen table holding textbooks from Emma's abandoned nursing degree, the photos of Emma and her mother smiling in better times. "She's in the bedroom, but..." He was already moving, following the sound of labored breathing, with the certainty of someone who'd heard it before. Emma scrambled after him, mortified that this wealthy, powerful man was seeing her poverty up close. The peeling paint, the secondhand furniture, the life she tried so hard to hide behind pressed cafe uniforms and professional smiles. Her mother, Patricia Washington, lay in bed looking small and fragile, her rich brown skin ashen with illness. At 58, she should have been vibrant, but years of diabetes and insufficient health care had worn her down. Her eyes fluttered open as Hu Young approached, confusion clouding her features. "Baby, who?" "I'm Hu Young, Emma's employer." He moved to her bedside with surprising gentleness, fingers finding her wrist to check her pulse. His other hand pulled out his phone. "When did you last eat? What's your normal insulin dosage? Any other medications?" Emma rattled off the information, watching in shock as this man, this stranger who'd never spoken more than 10 words to her, examined her mother with clinical precision. He made a call, spoke rapid Korean, then turned to Emma. "I'm having insulin delivered within the hour. In the meantime, give her this." He produced a small package from his coat pocket, glucose tablets. "Two now, two more in 15 minutes. Keep her awake and talking." "How do you have? I'm prepared for emergencies." He said it like it was obvious, like everyone carried medical supplies in their coat pockets at midnight. "The insulin will be pharmaceutical grade, better than the pharmacy carries. My doctor is also coming to examine her properly." "Mr. Choi, I can't afford." "Did I ask you to pay?" Those dark eyes pinned her in place. "You needed help. I'm providing it. We'll discuss terms later." The way he said terms sent a shiver down Emma's spine that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with the way his gaze lingered on her face for half a second longer than necessary before he turned back to her mother. True to his word, a young Korean man arrived 40 minutes later with a medical bag and the kind of professional demeanor that screamed private health care. He introduced himself as Dr. Park, examined Patricia thoroughly, administered insulin, and set up a glucose monitor while Hu Young watched from the corner like a silent sentinel. "Her levels are stabilizing," Dr. Park said in accented English. "But Ms. Washington, you need consistent medication and monitoring. This kind of crisis shouldn't happen." "I know," Patricia said weakly, shame coloring her voice. "Insurance lapsed. I'm trying to get on a payment plan." "You're on my healthcare plan now." Hu Young's voice cut through the room with finality. "Dr. Park will be your primary physician, all costs covered." Emma's head snapped toward him. "What? No. Mr. Choi, that's too much. I just needed—" "You needed help. This is help." He pulled out his phone, typed something, then showed her the screen. "This is the cost of insulin therapy for diabetic patients without insurance. This is the cost of an emergency room visit if she crashed tonight. This," he scrolled, "is the cost of a funeral if she died." The numbers made Emma's stomach turn. She couldn't afford any of it. Couldn't afford to keep her mother alive on a waitress's salary while trying to save enough to finish nursing school someday. Couldn't afford dignity when poverty had stripped most of it away already. "Why are you doing this?" she whispered. "You don't even know us." Hu Young looked at her then, really looked at her, and something shifted in his expression. Something almost vulnerable before his mask slammed back into place. "I know you show up 15 minutes early for every shift. I know you smile at every customer even when they're rude. I know you're taking online classes during breaks and you triple check every order. I know you haven't taken a sick day in 8 months even when you had the flu last February." Emma's breath caught. He'd noticed all that? She thought herself invisible to him, just another employee in his business empire. "I know," he continued, voice dropping lower, "that good people fall into bad situations through no fault of their own. And I have the resources to help, so I am." "Nothing's free," Emma said carefully. "What do you want in return?" "Your trust." The answer came immediately. "And your honesty. If you or your mother need something, you tell me. No more desperate midnight texts. You come to me first." "That's not how the world works." "It's how my world works." Those dark eyes held hers. "And you're in it now, whether you intended to be or not." Dr. Park left after ensuring Patricia was stable, promising to return the next day for a full workup. Hu Young lingered, and Emma didn't know if she wanted him to leave or stay. He'd taken over her life in the span of 2 hours, solving her crisis with the kind of casual power that reminded her they existed in completely different universes. "You should sleep," he said, shrugging into his coat. "Your mother will be fine now. Keep monitoring her glucose every 2 hours until morning." "Thank you." The words felt inadequate. "I don't know how to... I can't repay..." "Emma." Her name in his mouth sounded different, intimate. I don't want repayment. I want you to stop looking at me like I'm going to demand your soul in exchange for basic human decency. Aren't you? The question escaped before she could stop it. Men like you don't help women like me without expecting something. His jaw tightened. Men like me? Rich, powerful, Korean Mafia boss. She said the last part quietly, but his eyes flashed with something dangerous. You know what I am. Everyone knows what you are. The cafe is a front. Everyone who works there knows and pretends not to. We take your money, follow your rules, and don't ask questions about the men in suits who have meetings in the back room. Hu Young studied her for a long moment. And yet you texted me anyway, knowing what I am. Why? Because my mother was dying, and evil men with money are still better than good intentions without it. Emma lifted her chin. I'd have texted the devil himself if it meant saving her. Good. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Then we understand each other. I'm not a good man, Emma. I do terrible things for power and money and family honor. But I keep my word, I protect what's mine, and I don't let innocent people suffer when I can prevent it. I'm not yours. Not yet. He moved toward the door, then paused. I'll pick you up tomorrow at 6 p.m. We need to discuss your mother's long-term care plan and your employment situation. What employment situation? Am I fired? No, you're promoted. I need someone I can trust in a position that requires discretion. We'll discuss details tomorrow. He opened the door, then looked back. Wear something comfortable. We're going somewhere that doesn't require you to smile at people who don't deserve it. And then he was gone, leaving Emma standing in her apartment that still smelled like his expensive cologne, wondering what the hell she'd just gotten herself into. Emma didn't sleep. She monitored her mother's glucose levels, cleaned the apartment in nervous energy, and replayed every moment of Hu Young's visit. The way he'd moved through her space like he owned it. The gentleness in his hands when he'd checked her mother's pulse. The darkness in his eyes when she'd called him what he was. Morning came with Patricia Stable and Dr. Park arriving promptly at 8 a.m. for the promised examination. He brought enough medical supplies to stock a small clinic. Insulin, testing strips, a new glucose monitor, blood pressure cuff, everything. Mr. Choi wants comprehensive care, Dr. Park explained as he worked. I'll visit 3 times a week initially, then adjust as needed. He's also arranged for a visiting nurse for daily medication management. This is too much, Patricia protested weakly. Baby, you can't accept all this. Men like that, they always want something. I know, Mama. Emma held her mother's hand. But right now we need this, and I'll handle whatever comes after. What came after arrived at exactly 6 p.m. Emma had spent the day at work, her shift at the cafe feeling surreal now that she knew Hu Young had noticed her all along. Her coworkers treated her normally, unaware that their boss had invaded her life at midnight. She'd worn jeans and a simple sweater, taking his advice about comfort, while wondering if she'd misread the entire situation. The Genesis pulled up outside her building precisely on time. Hu Young stepped out wearing dark jeans and a black button-down, somehow looking both more casual and more dangerous than in his business attire. He opened her door himself, and Emma felt her heart do something stupid as his hand briefly touched her lower back, guiding her into the car. How is your mother? He asked as they pulled into traffic. Better. Dr. Park said her levels are stabilizing. He brought enough supplies to last a month. Good. He drove with one hand, the other resting on his thigh, and Emma tried not to notice how his fingers drummed a rhythm against expensive denim. We need to talk about sustainability. Dr. Park's visits, medication, monitoring. It's not a one-time gift. It's ongoing care. I know, and I meant what I said. I'll pay you back. It might take years, but I don't want your money, Emma. His voice was patient, like explaining something obvious. I want your skills in a different capacity. What skills? I'm a waitress. You were a nursing student, top of your class at UCLA before you had to drop out to support your mother. He said it casually, but Emma's blood ran cold. How do you know that? I make it my business to know people who work for me. You're smart, observant, discreet, and you understand medical care. I need someone with those qualities. For what? He pulled into a parking garage beneath a building Emma didn't recognize. Sleek, modern, expensive. I'll show you. They took a private elevator to the 10th floor, where Hu Young used a key card to access a door marked only with Korean characters. Inside was something Emma never expected. A fully equipped medical clinic, examination rooms, A small surgical suite, recovery beds, pharmacy storage, all spotlessly clean and clearly high-end. "What is this?" Emma whispered. "Private healthcare for people who can't go to hospitals. My people mostly, the ones who get hurt in ways that raise questions, but also community members who fall through the cracks of the system. Undocumented workers, families without insurance, people like your mother." He led her through the space, and Emma's nursing training kicked in automatically. She noticed the organization, the quality of equipment, the attention to detail. This wasn't some black market chop shop. This was a legitimate clinic hidden in plain sight. "I have doctors on staff, but I need someone to manage operations, coordinate patient care, maintain supplies, handle scheduling, ensure discretion. Someone who understands both the medical and the cultural requirements of what we do here." "You want me to run an illegal clinic?" "I want you to run a very legal clinic that operates in moral gray areas. Everything is above board. Licensed doctors, proper protocols, full records. We just don't advertise, and we don't ask questions about how people got injured or why they can't go to the ER." Emma turned to face him. "And if I say no, then you say no. Your mother's care continues regardless." "I don't make threats, Emma. I make offers." He stepped closer, and she caught his scent again, cedar and something darker. "But I think you want to say yes. I think you've been waiting for a chance to use your training, to do something that matters, to be more than a waitress who smiles through disrespect. You don't know what I want, don't I?" His eyes held hers. "You want to finish your degree. You want your mother healthy and safe. You want to stop choosing between rent and medication, between your future and her present. You want to matter, and I'm offering you all of that. At what cost? Loyalty, discretion, trust." He said each word deliberately. "You work for me. You're under my protection. But that also means you're in my world. And my world is dangerous, Emma. There are people who'd hurt you to get to me. Risks you've never considered." "Why me? You could hire anyone. Someone with experience, credentials, someone who finished their degree." "Because I've been watching you for 8 months, and I know you're exactly what I need." His voice dropped lower. "And because when you texted me last night, desperate and terrified, you didn't beg. You didn't grovel. You stated facts and made a promise. That kind of dignity under pressure is rare. I value it." Emma's mind raced. This was insane. She'd be working for a criminal organization, managing medical care for God knows what kinds of injuries. But she'd also be using her training, making real money, securing her mother's future. And something about the way Hu Young looked at her, like she was capable, valuable, worth investing in, made her want to prove him right. "What's the salary?" His smile was sharp, pleased. $80,000 to start. Full benefits, including coverage for your mother, tuition assistance if you want to finish your degree online, and a signing bonus. To clear any outstanding debts. Emma's knees went weak. $80,000. She currently made $22,000 waitressing. This was life-changing money, generational wealth for a family that had never had any. "There's something else," Hu Young said quietly. "Something I need you to understand before you accept." "What?" He moved closer, close enough that Emma had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. "I've wanted you since the first day you walked into my cafe, since you smiled at me like I was just another customer and asked what I wanted to drink. Since you treated me like a person instead of a king or a monster. And if you work for me in this capacity, if you're in my space every day, I will pursue you. Not as your employer, that would be inappropriate, but as a man who wants a woman. I'll court you properly, give you every opportunity to say no, but I won't pretend I don't want you. Can you handle that?" Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. "That's sexual harassment. It's honesty. And if you tell me right now that you have no interest, I'll never mention it again. We'll have a purely professional relationship, and I'll respect that boundary absolutely." His eyes searched hers. "But if there's even a possibility that you might feel the same way, I want you to know my intentions before you make a decision." "Why tell me this?" "You could have just hired me and pursued me anyway. Because I don't lie to people I respect, and I respect you, Emma Washington, more than you know." She should say no, should run from this dangerous, complicated man who'd invaded her life and was offering her everything she'd ever wanted. Should protect herself from inevitable heartbreak when his world swallowed hers whole. "I need to think about it," she said finally. Of course. He stepped back, giving her space. Take the weekend. Let me know Monday. In the meantime, your mother's care continues, and your position at the cafe is secure if you decline. They drove back in charged silence. When he walked her to her apartment door, Hu Young paused, looking at her with an intensity that stole her breath. Thank you for being honest, Emma said quietly. About your intentions. Most men wouldn't be. I'm not most men. He reached out, fingers barely brushing her cheek. And you're not most women. You deserve honesty, Emma. Even when it complicates things. He left and Emma spent the weekend thinking, weighing risks against rewards, talking to her mother, who'd lived long enough to recognize opportunity when it arrived, and researching Choi Hu Young, finding surprisingly little concrete information, but plenty of rumors. Gangster, businessman, philanthropist, murderer, savior. Depending on who you asked, he was either the devil or a saint. Monday morning, Emma walked into Hanul Cafe and found Hu Young in his usual corner, reading a Korean newspaper with a cup of Americano cooling at his elbow. She approached his table, heart pounding, and he looked up with an expression that revealed nothing. I have conditions, she said without preamble. I'm listening. 1. My mother's care is guaranteed regardless of my job performance or our personal relationship status. If you fire me or we stop seeing each other, her health care continues. Agreed. 2. I need access to continuing education, not just online classes, real nursing programs when I'm ready. I want my RN eventually. I'll have Dr. Park write recommendation letters. Top programs will accept you. 3. If I see anything at the clinic that crosses my ethical lines, human trafficking, abuse, anything involving kids, I walk. No questions asked, no retaliation. Something fierce flashed in Hu Young's eyes. I don't traffic humans, and anyone who hurts children answers to me permanently. You have my word. If you see anything like that, I'll handle it personally. And 4, Emma took a breath. If we do this, if there's an us, you don't lie to me. About your work, your life, the dangers. I'm entering your world with eyes open, but I need truth. Always. Hu Young stood, moving around the table until he was close enough to touch. Truth, then? I'm the head of the Choi family syndicate. We run protection, gambling, import-export operations that aren't always legal. I've killed people. I'll probably kill more. I have enemies who'd love to hurt me through you. And despite all of that, I want you in my life so badly that I'm willing to risk your safety and my sanity to have you there. That's not reassuring. It's honest. His hand came up to cup her face. I can give you safety, Emma. Resources, protection, anything you need. But I can't give you normal. Can you live with that? Emma thought about normal, about struggling to afford insulin, about dead-end waitressing jobs, about dreams deferred indefinitely, about the way this dangerous man looked at her like she was extraordinary, about the clinic where she could actually help people who needed it most. I don't want normal, she said. I want more, and I think you're offering it. Is that a yes? It's a yes to the job. The rest, she smiled slightly, you'll have to earn it like you promised. Court me properly. Convince me you're worth the risk. His smile was devastating. Challenge accepted. The next 3 months transformed Emma's life completely. She started at the clinic immediately, diving into work that challenged and fulfilled her in ways waitressing never had. She coordinated care for gang members with knife wounds, undocumented workers with untreated illnesses, elderly Korean immigrants who didn't trust American hospitals. She learned medical Korean from Dr. Park, improved her Spanish for Latino patients, and discovered she was good at this. Really good. And Hu Young kept his word about courting her. He was patient, deliberate, devastating. He brought her mother fresh flowers every Sunday. He left medical journals on Emma's desk with passages highlighted that he thought she'd find interesting. He took Emma to hole-in-the-wall Korean restaurants and taught her the language, laughing when she mispronounced words and praising her when she got them right. He never pushed for more than she offered, but his interest was clear in every action. The way his hand lingered at her lower back when guiding her through doors. The intensity in his eyes when she explained a difficult case. The small, private smiles she was learning were reserved only for her. You're being very patient, Emma observed one evening as they shared bibimbap in his apartment, a sprawling penthouse that somehow felt warm despite its size, filled with books and Korean art and photographs of people she assumed were family. I'm a patient man when it comes to things that matter. Hu Young passed her the gochujang. And you matter, Emma. More than anything has mattered in a long time. Why me? She'd asked before. But his answer had been about professional qualities. Now she wanted the personal truth. You could have anyone. There are probably dozens of beautiful women who'd love to be with you. Beauty is common. He set down his chopsticks, giving her his full attention. You want to know what drew me to you? That first day, a customer berated you for 10 minutes because his coffee was too hot. You smiled through it, apologized, remade his drink. And when he finally left, you didn't complain or cry or talk about quitting. You just took a breath, rolled your shoulders back, and greeted the next customer with the same warmth. That resilience, that grace under pressure. I'd seen soldiers with less composure. That's just survival. Working service jobs means dealing with assholes. No, it's strength. And I'm drawn to strength, Emma, to people who don't break when life tries to shatter them. His hand reached across the table, fingers threading through hers. You could have let that text destroy our professional relationship. Could have hidden from me after I saw your apartment, your struggles. Instead, you negotiated. You set boundaries. You demanded truth. That's not survival. That's power. Emma's throat tightened. I don't feel powerful. Then let me show you what I see. He stood, pulling her up with him, and led her to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Los Angeles. The city spread below them in a carpet of lights, endless and beautiful and cold. Every light down there is someone struggling, surviving, fighting. But you're not down there anymore. You're up here, Emma. You climbed. You pulled me up, she corrected. I offered a hand. You took it. There's a difference. He turned her to face him, hands gentle on her shoulders. I've made the same offer to others. Do you know how many had the courage to accept? To walk into my world knowing what I am? Just you. Maybe I'm just desperate. Maybe you're just brave. His thumbs brushed her collarbone, the touch feather-light but electric. I want to kiss you. I've wanted to since that first midnight when you opened your door looking terrified and fierce, and so beautiful it hurt. May I? Emma's heart pounded. This was the moment. The point of no return. If she said yes, she'd be crossing a line from professional to personal, from safe to dangerous, from Emma Washington, the waitress, to Emma Washington, the girlfriend of a Korean Mafia boss. Yes, she whispered. His kiss was nothing like she expected. Gentle, almost reverent, like he was afraid she'd break or disappear. His hands cradled her face with devastating tenderness, and Emma melted into him, fingers clutching his shirt as the kiss deepened. He tasted like cinnamon and something darker, something that made her want more even as her rational mind screamed warnings. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Hu Young rested his forehead against hers. I'm going to fall in love with you, he said quietly. Probably already have. And when I do, I become dangerous, irrational. I'll burn the city down to keep you safe. I need you to know that before this goes further. That's terrifying. I know. And kind of romantic. I know that too. His smile was soft, real. The one she'd learned was only for her. Stay tonight, just to sleep, just to be close. I want to wake up knowing you're here. Emma should have said no, should have maintained boundaries. Instead, she found herself nodding, letting him lead her to a bedroom that was all masculine comfort. Dark sheets, soft lighting, books everywhere. They lay together fully clothed, his arm around her waist, her back to his chest, fitting together like they'd been designed for this. Tell me something true, Emma whispered into the darkness. Something nobody else knows. Hu Young was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, I'm afraid every day, afraid I'll lose control of the organization, afraid my enemies will find a weakness, afraid I'll become my father, cold, brutal, alone. And now I'm afraid that loving you will either save me or destroy everything I've built. Emma turned in his arms to face him. What if it does both? Then it does both. His hand came up to brush hair from her face. And I'll deal with the consequences because you're worth it. They fell asleep like that, wrapped in each other, and Emma dreamed of falling through city lights into arms that might catch her or might let her shatter. She didn't know which scared her more. Reality crashed in 3 weeks later. Emma was at the clinic, treating a young Latino boy with a broken arm, fell off his bike, his terrified mother explained in broken English, when armed men burst through the door. 4 of them, wearing suits, looking professional and lethal. The lead man said something in Korean, and Emma's limited language skills caught enough to understand. They were looking for Hu Young. "He's not here," Emma said, positioning herself between the men and her patient. "This is a private clinic. You need to leave." The leader smiled, and it was cold. "You're Emma Washington. We know. You're going to call your boss and tell him if he wants you back. He meets with us, alone, tonight." Fear spiked through her, but Emma kept her voice steady. "I'm not calling anyone. Get out before I call the police." "The police?" The man laughed. "Do you know who we are? The police work for us." Then the world exploded. Hu Young's security team materialized from nowhere. Emma hadn't even known they were stationed at the clinic, and suddenly gunfire erupted. Emma threw herself over the boy, shielding him with her body as his mother screamed. Glass shattered. Men shouted in Korean and Spanish. And through it all, Emma heard her own heartbeat, impossibly loud, counting the seconds until either safety or death. It ended as quickly as it started. 3 of the intruders dead, 1 captured, Hu Young's men unharmed, and Emma shaking so badly she could barely stand as she checked the boy and his mother for injuries, both terrified but unhurt, thank God. Hu Young arrived 15 minutes later, and Emma had never seen him like this. Cold fury radiated from him like heat. His eyes swept the scene, landing on Emma, and something in his expression cracked. "Are you hurt?" He was across the room in seconds, hands running over her body, checking for injuries with clinical precision, even as his voice shook slightly. "I'm fine. The patients are fine. Your men got here fast. Because I had them stationed here after receiving threats against you." His jaw clenched. "Threats I didn't tell you about because I thought I could handle them quietly. You lied to me. I protected you. By keeping me in the dark, by letting me walk into danger I didn't know existed?" Emma's fear transformed into anger. "You promised me truth, Hu Young. You promised. And if I'd told you, what would you have done? Quit? Left? Given them exactly what they wanted by disappearing from my life?" His hands framed her face. "I couldn't risk losing you. So you risked my life instead." The words hung between them, and Emma saw the exact moment they landed. Saw Hu Young recognize his mistake. Saw the guilt and fear and desperate love warring in his eyes. "You're right," he said finally. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. It won't happen again. Promise me," Emma's voice broke. "Promise me truth, Hu Young, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Or this doesn't work. Us doesn't work. I promise." He pulled her against him, and Emma felt him trembling. "God, Emma, when I got the call that they'd breached the clinic, that you were in danger, I've never been that terrified. Not even when my father died. I can handle threats to myself, but you..." His arms tightened. "You're my weakness, my Achilles heel, and everyone knows it now. Then maybe we should stop. Maybe this is too dangerous." "No." The word was fierce. "No. They want me afraid, want me isolated. I won't give them that victory. But Emma, I need you to understand what you're signing up for. This won't be the last attempt. There will be more threats, more danger, more moments like this. Can you handle that? Honestly?" Emma thought about the terror of those minutes, about shielding that child while bullets flew, about the very real possibility that she could die just for being connected to this man. And she thought about going back to her old life, safe, small, slowly dying of unfulfilled dreams and poverty and watching her mother fade away for lack of health care. "I can handle it," she said, "but only if you're honest with me. If I'm going to be in danger, I deserve to know so I can prepare. I'm not some delicate flower, Hu Young. I'm a woman who grew up in Inglewood, who worked 3 jobs to pay for school, who kept her mother alive through medical crises on hope and prayer. I'm stronger than you think. I know you are." His lips brushed her forehead. "That's why I'm terrified of losing you. Strong people are the hardest to find and the easiest to destroy." The attack changed things. Hu Young moved Emma and her mother into his building, a different floor, giving them space but keeping them close and protected. Emma's apartment became a safe house for her belongings while she adjusted to living somewhere with actual security, working elevators, and water pressure that didn't fluctuate. Patricia Washington took one look at the luxury apartment and shook her head. "Baby, this is too much. Mama, people literally tried to kidnap me today. This is necessary." Emma helped her mother settle onto a couch that probably cost more than their yearly rent used to. And Hu Young insists he's protective. He's in love with you. Patricia's knowing eyes studied her daughter. And you're in love with him. I don't know what I am. Emma sank down beside her mother. Mama, 3 months ago, I was a waitress with no future. Now I'm running a clinic, dating a gangster, and surviving shootouts. I don't even recognize my life. Is that bad? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm living someone else's dream, like I'll wake up back in that studio apartment with nothing. Patricia took her daughter's hand. Listen to me. I've watched that man watch you. He looks at you the way your father looked at me, like you're his whole world. That kind of love is rare, Emma. Dangerous, yes. Complicated, absolutely. But rare, and worth fighting for if you feel the same. I'm terrified. Good. Only fools enter love fearlessly. Patricia squeezed her hand. But don't let fear stop you from living, baby. I've spent too many years watching you sacrifice for me. Maybe it's time you let someone else do the sacrificing. That night, Emma went to Hu Young's penthouse, used the key he'd given her 2 weeks ago with reverent ceremony, found him standing at those massive windows again, silhouetted against the city lights, looking every inch the dangerous man he was. I'm in love with you, she said without preamble. I don't know when it happened or how, but I am. And I need you to know that before we go any further. Hu Young turned and the expression on his face stole her breath. Vulnerable, fierce, desperate, relieved, all at once. Say it again. I love you, Choi Hu Young. I love your patience and your strength and your terrible habit of solving problems with money and violence. I love how you look at me like I'm extraordinary and how you bring my mother flowers and how you're trying to build something legitimate out of your father's legacy. I love you and it terrifies me, but I'm done pretending I don't. He was across the room in seconds, pulling her into a kiss that was nothing like their first. This was hungry, consuming, desperate. His hands tangled in her hair, and Emma gripped his shirt, pulling him closer, pouring everything she felt into the kiss. Fear and love and need and trust. I love you, Hu Young breathed between kisses. God, Emma, I love you so much it's destroying me. I can't think straight, can't focus, can't do anything but think about keeping you safe and keeping you mine. They made love that night with the city spread below them, and Emma discovered that sex with someone you loved was completely different from anything she'd experienced before. Hu Young worshipped her body like it was sacred, learned every sound she made, every place that made her gasp. And when they finally collapsed together, sweaty and breathless and utterly satisfied, Emma felt like she'd found home. Marry me, Hu Young said into the darkness. Emma's eyes flew open. What? Marry me. I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other 4 months. But Emma, I don't want to waste time pretending I'll ever want anyone else. You're it for me, the only one. So marry me. That's insane. So say no. Tell me it's too soon, too fast, too crazy. I'll wait. I'll ask again in 6 months, a year, however long you need. But I wanted you to know where I stand, where I've stood since that first midnight when you needed help and trusted me enough to ask. Emma turned to face him, studying his features in the dim light. If I say yes, what does that mean? Do I become Mrs. Choi Hu Young, Korean mob wife? Do I have to follow rules I don't know? Give up parts of myself to fit your world? If you say yes, you become my wife, partner, equal. You keep your name if you want. Washington Choi sounds perfect. You keep your work, your dreams, your identity. I don't want to possess you, Emma. I want to build a life with you. Our life, on our terms. And when your family disapproves of you marrying a black woman, then they disapprove. I'm the head of this family. They answer to me, not the other way around. His hand cupped her face. But for what it's worth, my mother would have loved you. She believed love transcended everything. Race, class, danger. She used to say the heart knows what the mind can't understand. She's gone. 10 years ago. Cancer. Sadness flickered across his features. She made my father promise to let me choose my own wife, to never force an arranged marriage on me like his family did to him. That promise is the only reason I had the freedom to pursue you. I'm sorry you lost her. So am I. But she'd want me to be happy. And you make me happy, Emma. Deliriously, terrifyingly happy. His thumb brushed her lips. You don't have to answer now. Think about it. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. Ask me properly, Emma said suddenly. Not in bed. Not after sex. Ask me like you mean it. Hu Young's smile was brilliant. He got out of bed gloriously naked and completely unself-conscious and dropped to one knee beside it. Emma Washington, will you marry me? Will you build a life with me? Have children with me? Grow old beside me? Will you be my wife, my partner, my everything? Yes, Emma said, tears streaming down her face. You absolute maniac, yes. The engagement was announced to Hu Young's organization 2 days later at a formal meeting Emma was required to attend. She wore a dress Hu Young had bought her, elegant, expensive, the kind that announced her new status, and tried not to shake as dozens of Korean men in expensive suits stared at her with expressions ranging from curiosity to disapproval. Hu Young stood at the head of the table, one hand resting possessively at Emma's waist, and spoke in Korean. Emma caught enough words to understand he was introducing her, claiming her publicly, making it clear that she was under his protection, and anyone who disrespected her answered to him. One man, older, with scarred hands and cold eyes, stood. He spoke in heavily accented English, clearly for Emma's benefit. Boss Choi, with respect, the family has concerns. This woman, she's an outsider, not Korean. She doesn't know our ways, our traditions. How can she be suitable? Hu Young's expression went arctic. Chung-sik, do you question my judgment? I question the wisdom of marrying outside the community, especially now when we're trying to strengthen traditional alliances that have been bleeding us dry for years while providing no real support. Hu Young's voice was deadly quiet. Emma brings more value to this organization than most of you combined. She runs our medical operations with efficiency I haven't seen in a decade. She's earned loyalty from patients and staff. And she's mine. Anyone who has a problem with that can leave. Now. Silence. Then one by one, the men bowed their heads in acceptance. All except Jung-sik, who stared at Emma with barely concealed hostility before finally bowing as well. Later in the car, Emma said, I made enemies today. You made one enemy. Jung-sik has always been a problem. Traditionalist. Resents that I'm modernizing operations. Hu Young's hand found hers. But he's outnumbered. Most of the organization respects strength, and you showed it by standing there and not backing down. I wanted to run, but you didn't. That's what matters. He brought her hand to his lips. I'm proud of you, Emma. You handled that perfectly. The wedding planning was surreal. Hu Young wanted traditional Korean elements mixed with American, a fusion that reflected both their heritages. Emma's small family, her mother, a few cousins, her best friend from college, would mingle with Hu Young's extensive organization and the remnants of his family in Korea. What if they hate me? Emma asked one night as they reviewed seating charts. Then they hate you from a distance while I love you up close. Hu Young pulled her onto his lap. Emma, I need you to understand something. In my world, power is everything, and you have power. Not because you're with me, but because of who you are. You command respect at the clinic. You handle crisis with grace. You stand up to men twice your size without flinching. That's power, and my people recognize it even if they don't want to admit it. I still feel like an imposter. Good. That means you're aware of the responsibility. It's the ones who feel entitled who become problems. His lips brushed her temple. You're going to be extraordinary, Mrs. Choi. I'm keeping Washington, Emma reminded him. Emma Washington Choi, then. Even better. A name that tells everyone exactly who you are. A strong black woman who chose to love a Korean gangster and change both their worlds in the process. The attack came a week before the wedding. Emma was leaving the clinic late. Too late, she realized in retrospect, when a car pulled up and Jung-sik stepped out, flanked by 2 men she didn't recognize. Miss Washington, we need to talk. Emma's hand went to her phone, but Jung-sik held up his hands. No need for alarm. I just want to have a conversation. 5 minutes of your time. Every instinct screamed danger, but Emma forced herself to stay calm. About what? About leaving. About taking the generous settlement I'm prepared to offer and disappearing from Boss Choi's life before you destroy everything his family built. I'm not going anywhere. You misunderstand. This isn't a request. Jung-sik stepped closer, and Emma saw the cold calculation in his eyes. You're a liability, a distraction. Boss Choi is making mistakes because of you. showing weakness, prioritizing personal feelings over business. That gets people killed in our world. So you leave, or I make you leave. Are you threatening me? I'm offering you a choice. Money and safety, or pain and regret. Choose wisely, Miss Washington. Emma knew she should be terrified, should be calculating escape routes and calling for help. Instead, she felt anger, white-hot and clarifying. I've been threatened before, by better men than you, and I'm still here. So no, Young-sik, I'm not leaving. And when Hu Young finds out about this conversation, and he will, you're going to regret every word. Chung-sik's expression darkened. You have no idea what you're dealing with. Neither do you. Emma held his gaze. I'm not some fragile thing you can intimidate. I grew up in Inglewood, survived medical school on scholarships and spite, kept my mother alive when insurance companies wanted her dead. You think you scare me? You're just another obstacle, and I'm very good at overcoming those. She walked away then, heart pounding, but steps steady. Felt their eyes on her back, but didn't look back. Didn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her fear. And when she finally got to her car, hands shaking too badly to drive, she called Hu Young. Young-sik just threatened me. The silence on the other end was terrifying in its completeness. Then in a voice colder than Emma had ever heard, Where are you? Clinic parking lot. I'm okay. I told him to fuck off, essentially, but Hu Young, stay in your car. Lock the doors. I'm sending people now. And I'm handling Young-sik personally. Don't kill him. I mean, I want you to, but I'm not making promises I can't keep. His voice softened slightly. Are you sure you're okay? He didn't touch you? I'm fine, pissed, but fine. That's my girl. Pride colored his tone. 5 minutes. Stay safe until then. True to his word, security arrived within minutes. But Hu Young himself showed up right behind them, and the look on his face when he pulled Emma from her car and into his arms was something she'd never forget. Raw fear layered under murderous fury. I'm okay, she whispered against his chest. I know. You're strong. You're capable. You can handle yourself. His arms tightened. But Emma, when someone threatens what's mine, there are consequences. And Young-sik just signed his death warrant. I don't want you to kill him because of me. This isn't because of you. It's because of him. He threatened the future head of this family, questioned my authority, and violated the most basic rule, protect the boss's interests. Hu Young pulled back to look at her. He was already on thin ice. This just broke it. Emma wanted to argue, wanted to believe there was another way, but she'd seen Hu Young's world up close now, understood that mercy was often mistaken for weakness, and weakness got people killed. Promise me you'll be safe. Always. I have too much to live for now. His lips brushed hers. Go home. Take a bath. Drink wine. Let your mother fuss over you. I'll handle this and be there soon. He was gone for 6 hours. Emma spent them pacing, worrying, imagining every terrible outcome. But when he finally appeared at 3 a.m., he was unharmed, though his knuckles were bruised and there was blood on his shirt that she desperately hoped wasn't his. Is he dead? Emma asked quietly. No, but he wishes he was. I made an example, broke his hands, exiled him from L.A., made it clear what happens when someone threatens mine. Hu Young's expression was flat, emotionless. He won't be a problem again. Emma should have been horrified, should have questioned what she'd gotten herself into. Instead, she felt relief and a dark satisfaction she didn't want to examine too closely. Come shower, she said, taking his hand. Let me take care of you. They showered together, Emma washing blood from his skin while he stood docile under her hands. And afterward, they made love with desperate intensity, reaffirming life in the wake of violence, celebrating survival and love, and the complicated truth of who they were together. The wedding was beautiful. Emma wore a dress that honored both cultures, white lace with Korean silk accents, traditional and modern all at once. Hu Young looked devastating in a custom suit, and when he saw her walking down the aisle with her mother, tears shone in his eyes. They said their vows in English and Korean, promising love and loyalty and partnership. Emma's voice shook but held strong as she promised to stand beside him through danger and peace, through tradition and change, through everything their merged worlds would throw at them. I promise to love you in both our languages, Hu Young said, his vows a mixture of English and Korean, To build a life that honors your strength and my heritage. To protect you fiercely while respecting your independence. To be yours completely from this day until my last breath. When they kissed, sealing their promises, the crowd erupted in applause. Korean gangsters and Emma's working-class family, all celebrating this impossible union. At the reception, Emma's mother pulled her aside. "Baby, I'm so proud of you. Look at what you built. Look at who you've become. I'm scared, Mama. What if I can't handle this life? What if I'm not strong enough? You're the strongest person I know. You texted a crime lord at midnight asking for $50, and now you're his wife, running his medical operations, commanding respect from men who've killed people." Patricia cupped her daughter's face. "You were always meant for something bigger than that studio apartment, Emma. You just needed someone to see it, and he saw it." Across the room, Hu Young was talking to his remaining lieutenants, but his eyes kept finding Emma. When their gazes met, he smiled. That private, real smile she'd learned was only hers, and she felt her fear dissolve. That night in the honeymoon suite of a hotel Emma couldn't have afforded a night in months ago, they lay tangled together, exhausted and happy. "I love you," Emma whispered. "I love you so much it scares me." "Good," Hu Young murmured against her hair. "Love should be a little terrifying. It means you understand the stakes. But Emma, I promise you, you'll never regret choosing this. Choosing us. I'll spend every day proving that your trust was well placed." "You already have." She turned to face him. "That night when I texted you, I was desperate, broken, at my absolute lowest. And you showed up. You didn't judge, didn't demand, didn't make me feel small. You just helped. And every day since, you've shown me what it means to be seen, valued, loved. So no, I don't regret this. I regret nothing. Even Young-sik? Especially Young-sik. He showed me that I'm stronger than I thought, that I can face down men who want me gone and not flinch, that I belong in your world because I choose to belong, not because I'm tolerated." Hu Young's laugh was soft, pleased. "You terrify half my organization, you know. The ones who underestimated you now treat you with more respect than they show me. That's because I'm not trying to be intimidating. I'm just being myself. And turns out, myself is pretty formidable when she's not being crushed by poverty and fear." "Formidable is an understatement." His hand traced patterns on her spine. "You're extraordinary, Emma Washington Choi, and I'm the luckiest man alive to call you my wife." 2 years later, Emma stood in the clinic, now expanded to 3 locations across LA, watching Dr. Park train new doctors in trauma care. Her mother, healthy and vibrant on consistent medication, volunteered in the children's ward, and Emma herself had just completed her RN degree, graduating top of her class at a program Hu Young's donations had made possible. "Ready to go?" he asked, hand extended. "Where are we going?" "Home, to celebrate your graduation properly. I have champagne and your favorite takeout and plans to make love to you until you forget your own name." Emma laughed, taking his hand. "Sounds perfect. But Hu Young, thank you for everything, for showing up that midnight, for believing in me, for building this life with me. Emma, you texted a stranger asking for $50. I showed up and found the love of my life. I should be thanking you." He pulled her close, kissing her in front of staff who'd long since stopped being surprised by their public affection. "Thank you for being desperate enough to reach out, brave enough to let me in, strong enough to stand beside me. You saved me, Emma. In every way a person can be saved." They left together, hands linked, walking into a future neither had planned, but both had chosen. A future built on a desperate midnight text, a stranger's kindness and love that bridged 2 worlds into something entirely new. And somewhere in Inglewood, in a small apartment that smelled like memories, a phone notification sat forgotten. Text delivered. "Hi, this is Emma from the cafe." The message that changed everything.